Welcome to another episode of Foresight TV. I hope you all had an amazing 4th of July Independence. I always never quite know whether I should just say 4th of July or should I say Independence Day, because I know we do have viewers from outside the U.S., and for them, the 4th of July is just the 4th of July. But for most of us, big holiday. It'll look a little bit different today. I am self-producing because the rest of my team is all off playing, and it seemed unfair to drag Jada, who does an amazing job of producing, into the studio today. I am talking to Greg Puklicz. Did I do that right? Second
You
time
did
around.
that. Awesome.
With 12 Oaks, and we are going to have a wonderful conversation after this. Hey guys, Steve Moran here. Greg, welcome.
Thank you.
I am looking at that background there and thinking, I think there's a pool behind that, and that looks like that could be. I wish I could figure out a way we could just sit in front of the
That's
pool.
right. That's what we need to do. Broadcast from the pool with a couple frosty drinks. Maybe
That's right.
That should be our goal. That's our.
It should be.
Goal.
Yeah, we can even be in the pool.
Mm-hmm.
We were both at in Palm Springs, a senior living innovation forum a couple of weeks ago, and it was so hot. Mm-hmm. And the day after, I stayed over 2 extra days because I have a friend of mine who has a house there, and he turned 60. And we did a big part of the pool party, just sitting in the pool having conversation. Mm-hmm. It was very, very nice.
Yeah.
Greg, I actually don't know you very well, and so I'm really excited. And I'd like to just start with a little bit about who you are and who 12 Oaks is, and kind of what makes you special.
You bet. Thanks. Well, thanks, Steve, for having us on. Happy 4th of July. I'm Canadian, so I guess I do know what Independence Day is, notwithstanding. Independence Day is a movie, right?
That's right.
About the 4th of July. So there you go. So 12 Oaks Senior Living, man, we've been around since the early 80s. Our founder and CEO is Dick Blaylock, who's a pioneer of senior living in these parts. He started out in senior living, and he, like many of us, we all kind of fall into senior living, it seems. He started out because his dad was building what he called retirement apartments at the time in the Dallas area. And he found out that, well, there's just a little more to managing seniors than apartment homes. And so he decided he needed a management company, and he decided Dick needed to start a management company so we could manage it for him. And kind of one thing led to another. And 12 Oaks Senior Living under Dick Blaylock's leadership has been kind of one of the premier best-in-class regional operators based in Dallas, Texas for many, many years. So 12 Oaks Senior Living for many years, was a company that would manage, we've developed properties, we've owned properties, but the focus has really been on management. And through the kind of 80s, 90s, and aughts, managed anywhere from, a dozen to 20 or so communities. So I met Dick about 7 years ago now, I guess, and my background is merchant development. So I'm a finance background. I was CFO for a couple merchant development companies in all kinds of asset classes. Did develop some senior housing, but mostly other asset classes like multifam and office and retail and condos and stuff. And met Dick and, was really fascinated with kind of Dick's thesis and, the emergence of senior housing, given the macroeconomic and demographic shift that we know is, coming. And so he brought me on as a CFO, and then um, made the decision to appoint me president about 4 years ago, and kind of took over day-to-day operations from that point in time. My thesis for 12 Oaks Senior Living was first and foremost scale. So, there's a lot of regional operators of, varying sizes. And, the one thing I concluded pretty quickly was that at 12 Oaks Senior Living, and any operator for that matter, scale is important, right? Because to be able to provide the services for what is easily the most complicated real estate management asset class, uh, and to have the resources at a home office to fully support dining initiatives, care initiatives, marketing, sales, housekeeping, back of house, HR, and accounting. So many things going on in senior housing that, scale is important so that you could build a strong backbone. And we've been able to do that at 12 Oaks Senior Living. And we've been able to grow the company to, we were upwards of 40 communities under management last year. We are currently at 38 communities under management, a couple sales recently. And one thing we've been sort of known for is, I guess, firstly, being a best in class regional operator. We are concentrated in Texas and Oklahoma. We do have a few outliers that people have asked us to help them out with, and we're happy to do that from time to time. But our focus is regional in the Southwest. And we utilize what we call a high touch model. So what that means is we only want our RVPs to have 5 or 6 communities. And we want our RVPs to be located within those regions. And we want them spending quality time within the communities, getting to know the EDs. Having a good ED is so critical to the success of a community. We see that, all the time. And we so it's our job to make sure that ED, that RVP are appropriately resourced, and we have enough scale behind our operation to be able to provide that support. We've been able to grow despite some of the challenges in the industry the past few years, and that's by taking on a lot of distressed, some foreclosed communities. So I like to refer to our portfolio sometimes as a basket of spiders, right? And it's our job to tame them. But we've been able to wrangle them. Occupancy has grown significantly for us over the last 18 months. We're up about 14 points in total.
Wow.
Staffing is in a much, much better place than it was, 18, 24 months ago. We're at 90% full employment. We still have, open positions, specifically in care, but I don't have outside agency except for a couple hotspots. And staffing seems far more stable now. And, margin is on the road to recovery. RevPAR has grown nicely. RevPAR for us grew 10.4% last year. So, all the economic kind of levers, those things that we have some measure of control over, have, gone well for us. So, now I guess, the focus is more on the future and kind of what's next. And there's many paths to take, as you know, Steve.
Yep. So I got so many questions. I want to step back to the question of scale for a second, since you started with that.
Mhm.
Is there, and I've had this conversation with so many leaders, and I think I've got sort of a contrarian view on it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Is there such thing as too big?
Honestly, yes, I do
Okay.
think so. Yeah, I do think so.
And how big is too big, do you think?
In my opinion, I would say 75 plus is too big.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Um, at the size we're at right now, I have knowledge of every community, right? I have knowledge, my COO, Lori, my CPO, Melissa, right? Our executive team, our entire operations team. If we talk about community A, located in somewhere, Texas, right? I know generally what's going on at that community, right? And we're a third party manager. So, I get a call sometimes, out of the blue from one of our clients, right? And they're like, hey, let's talk about this community. Well, I need to be able to talk about that community. I need knowledge. Now, and we have really good systems and back of house to provide dashboards and other KPIs and information. But the point is, to build culture, to build knowledge, there's power in proximity, right? To be best in class, you have to embrace these communities and treat the leadership there responsibly, give them the time and attention and resources they need. And, I try to make an effort to get out to a lot of our communities. I have, our staff accountants who work on, specific communities. I tell them, hey, get in your car, get on a plane, go out and visit the communities you're cranking out the books for every month.
Yeah.
Go meet the ED, go meet the care director, go meet the residents, right? And see what it is we're doing and see how what you're doing is important for those communities. So, to your question is, yeah, can you be too big? Yes. We don't want to become institutional. We want to stay connected. This is senior living is about people. It's about serving the seniors in our communities. And I want that kind of to be our mantra, part of our culture, and a thread through everything we do.
So one of the other things you said that really is an area that I spend a lot of time thinking about is that there are a number of thought leaders in the industry who have over the years postulated that the sort of the big, primarily tech companies like Amazon, and I guess we wouldn't necessarily call Walgreens or Walmart exactly a tech company, but big retail companies, and maybe even the Googles or Meta or those things are going to come in and basically dominate senior living. And I've always been kind of a skeptic that that's true, because the thing you said is that senior living is the most complex real estate play that there is of all the real estate investments. And and we've seen, we've seen recently Walmart and some of the big box pharmacy companies try doing primary care and just completely fail at it, which suggests that they just actually, you look at Amazon as this big business with lots of moving parts, but it's actually not a very complex business, right? It's just a big business, and we're really complex. So any thoughts on that threat or alleged threat?
Yeah, absolutely. So with regard to, scale and some of these bigger players getting involved, I hear things like certain larger investment groups are thinking about taking on more back of house responsibility, setting up what they call data centers, which is, in my view, just a disguised term for accounting and HR functions, right? And kind of trying to pull that out of the regional operators, or I don't want to use the term fake regional operators, but larger groups that have regional offices. That doesn't make you a regional operator, in my point of view. So, and look, everybody has a different approach. Our approach, my personal approach with 12 Oaks Senior Living, is all the functions that need to be provided under one roof by us. There's connection between the role that our HR recruiting team that's helping to fill the RVP and the ED fill positions, right? There's connection. There's the staff accountant. There's our OC, which is our operational coordinator, who handles a lot of, day-to-day contract stuff at the community, make sure that the insurance is current on the van, right? All those things that happen to run a community, right? There's interaction between the people that are doing that. And when you try to gain efficiencies by setting up big data centers, accounting centers, when you start splitting off the functions, you really lose touch with the day-to-day operation of the community. One thing I started doing when I came on as CFO with 12 Oaks is a monthly financial call with the excuse me, with the staff accountant, the RVP, the executive director at the community, looking at the prelims. And it was to make sure there's awareness amongst everybody within the organization who has a hand in the management of that community, that everybody's doing everything they can to get the best possible performance out of the community. You can't do that when you start splitting up, roles, when you send your accounting to be done somewhere else, all that kind of stuff. So um, I think, yeah, for us, I mean, it's a holistic approach from a management side.
One of the things that I feel like I'm sort of reading between the lines, and so I may be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure I'm not, is that you seem to have done, as an organization, a really, really good job of trickling your culture from the corporate office all the way down to your front line. And it's a to me it's an area that is ripe for both problems and opportunity, and seems to be really hard to get well. I know a number of regional players, maybe a little bit bigger than regional players, that where I really, I've gotten to know the C-suite well. They have a really well functioning C-suite. But then as I sort of talk to them and talk to people who are more on the front line, it seems like it doesn't trickle down very well to the property levels, to the executive directors. And sort of, I'm going to throw a lot at you because I think that they tie together. And I think the other question that sort of relates to that is, how do you balance the decision making between what the executive director can do and what gets made at the corporate level? So if you have a really, really big organization, the executive director doesn't really get to decide very much. And in really small organizations, the executive director might decide everything. And so how do you how do you do the culture thing, I guess, is really a long-winded way of asking to just talk a little bit more about your culture and your propagation of culture throughout the organization.
You bet. So, I was interviewed for an article on ED. What it takes to have a great ED the other day, and I looked up some of the stats. Our ED turnover ratio over the last 2 years is 2.6%.
Wow.
So we've not had turnover in ED positions. And interesting, we just sold, or a client of ours sold a couple communities in Oklahoma, and one of the EDs there, kind of did a bit of a testimonial about 12 Oaks, and we're looking. I wish we had another community to place her. That in that submarket, we don't right now, but one day, hopefully, she comes back as an ED for 12 Oaks somewhere. So yes, having that, and so having that culture and the buy-in of the EDs into our policies and processes and systems is huge. And how we support the EDs is huge. So they can focus on their communities. They can focus on their residents. They can focus on what the needs of the community happen to be. Maybe it's a lease-up community, right? That, we got to put a little more attention on marketing. Maybe it's a community that's got a lot of high acuity residents, and so care becomes more relevant, but they have to have time to be able to deal with those things. And it's our job at the corporate office to make sure they are appropriately resourced. And, the RVP is spending real quality time with them at their community, helping them run the community, not coming out, once a month for a 45-minute drive-by, fill out a checklist, red, yellow, green, what's right, what's wrong, drop it off in the inbox and, move on to the next one. That's not connecting with people. That's not building a relational trust, right? And if you want to get the best out of a community, you've got to resource the EDs, and that's what we're all about. Making sure that they get what they need to run the community. So, from a scale point of view, what it's our job, and from an initiative point of view, what we're looking at now is standardization of policies and processes and systems, and also, what partnerships we have with various vendors across the communities. We had a mishmash of EHR systems across our portfolio. We made the decision that, with the emergence and importance of value-based care, right, and that's, on the horizon, we are pivoting all of our EHR systems in a partnership with August Health. And it's our goal by the end of the year to make sure that all of our communities are 100% up and running with 100% of the residents, health records and data fully loaded in the new system. And then we have full integration with our accounting, with our CRM, right? And we're resourcing that through our home office. We're hiring people within our care and compliance group to go out to the communities and make that happen. Not to add burden to the ED and RCD, we're going to do that for them from home office resources, and train them how to use it and give them a better, way to manage the care effort at the communities. So, it's things like that we do to really kind of enhance the ED experience.
So we've gone through this period of time where we really struggled with both occupancy and staffing, and I think for pretty much everybody, they continue to be significant challenges that people face. But it's better than it was a year ago. And so I'm talking to operators who are now spending more time focusing on sort of what next? How do we improve margins? How do we better fit into the healthcare system? And I know before we went on the air, we talked a little bit sort of about this value-based care. And I'd love to just have you talk a little bit about what your thinking is with value-based care and fitting into the healthcare system and revenue opportunities there.
You bet. So, value-based care is clearly the way of the future. Anybody who's not paying attention to it is going to get left behind. For so long, assisted living was trying to be the social model, right? And shunned the medical model. And, that was okay for a while, in the, 90s and on. But we are now at a point in time where people expect and deserve more opportunity for holistic wellness within their communities. And assisted living, like no other, kind of commodity or community, is in a better position to deliver that. Now, the benefit to the communities is the benefit that comes to the resident, right? So what value-based care means is delivering more care in a holistic, preventative way to our residents, and we can expand the levels of care we provide by creating partnerships with physician groups, with therapy groups, with pharmacies, right? All these healthcare providers, so that the opportunity for care that the residents are going to be getting in the future far exceeds what they're doing today. I mean, imagine if we have, physician groups, rounding or officing in the community, right? So, mom doesn't have to wait till, 3 weeks Thursday to go out to an appointment that she sits in a waiting room for an hour, right? Waiting for. The physician group should be in the community in an office. Mom can go see her when it's, her time. Or if there's an urgent need or a change in condition, the physicians are there to help it. And then from a level of care point of view, there's more things we can do for them. We should be able to provide more therapy options, better pharmacy options, respiratory therapy, insulin, injectables, right? Blood tests, lab work, right? Out of the community. They don't have to go out of community for those things. And value-based care, from a holistic care approach, means all those things. Now, the value proposition is enormous. For so long, senior housing valuations are based on two things, right? The PropCo, which is the real estate value, and the OpCo, what the operators like us brought to the table in terms of operations, which is rent minus OpEx, right, for a margin. Well, now, HealthCo has entered the chat,
Yeah.
right? And HealthCo are all those healthcare opportunities, right, that can create a third leg of the stool of the value proposition going forward for senior housing. And us as operators, right, need to embrace it and make sure it's installed at all of our communities. And that is a very important key initiative we're undertaking at 12 Oaks to be able to do that. And, the results, the outcomes we're seeking are, higher length of stay, right, for residents, better wellness, right, for our communities, preventative care, right, for our residents, higher resident satisfaction, higher family satisfaction because we're helping to administer healthcare needs. Instead of mom having one of the daughters or family members coming to pick mom up to drive her to her appointments, right? We can do some of those appointments in community. And then two, RevPAR, right, should go up because we can enhance levels of care and seek reimbursement through it, be it through a Medicare Advantage relationship, be it through an ACO, right? And there's a lot of different ways to skin that cat, right? And, there's a lot of money on the table that operators and owners of senior living can participate in to increase margin at the end of the day. So look at the outcomes, right? We got residents staying longer, who are happier, who are more well, right? Lower acuity, and RevPAR's up, and staffing also becomes more consistent, right? When we've got healthcare professionals, third party from trusted partners in community helping our care staff, right, deliver these services to our residents instead of the caregiver being the be all end all kind of caregiver for the resident, right? They're getting help and support, right? We've got better tracking and data systems to monitor this. We're using fall detection systems and other systems and AI to predict when there's a change in condition, and having somebody look at that to see can we prevent an episode with a resident. The outcomes are astounding, right? And it all comes down to what we're able to do for our elderly population in these communities, and with a better result for everybody involved. It's as win-win a proposition as you can have in the industry.
Yeah, and the other thing you didn't talk about, but I think is just so important, that all ties into this, is that we become senior living, assisted living becomes this kind of a relief valve for the healthcare system that doesn't have enough beds, where the costs are increasing. And the one thing I didn't really spend too much time thinking about, but I really liked a lot, is this idea when you've got all these professionals who are in your community, hands-on with your residents, it just gives a higher level of care. They're going to be able to spot things that a frontline care worker wouldn't be able to spot, and that becomes powerful because it brings so much value to both the residents and the family, and at the same time, real opportunity to increase margins. So, do you worry at all about increased regulations that are going to come with that?
Do I worry about it? Well, I'm not a fan of regulation. I'm not worried about it. I suppose to some extent it's inevitable. But, I think what we need to focus on is doing the best job possible that we can do so as not to attract the need for regulation, right? I think that's what, my focus is on, right? Let's be best in class operators and deliver these services in an efficient and responsible way. And you know what? The regulators hopefully won't try to come here and tell us how we need to do this for our residents.
Yeah, and I would, sort of as I look at it, and I'm about as far away from Washington D.C. as you get, but talking to people who are closer to it, there doesn't, we've seen some hearings and things, but there doesn't seem to be really a lot of appetite to add one more piece of federal government bureaucracy to do that. And I 100% agree that the best solution is to do an amazing job where the regulators look at that and say that's not a problem that needs to be solved. So we're almost out of time, but I'd like to actually just have you reflect on where do you think 12 Oaks will be, I don't know where the 5 came from, 12 Oaks will be in 5 years, and maybe where you see the industry will be in the next 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, you bet. So 12 Oaks, in 5 years, our business plan is to be and to remain a best-in-class regional operator, with a focus and concentration in the Southwest. Not to mean we can't take on many regions within other areas. We have enough scale. I'd like to be in the 60 to 70 community kind of management zone, right, in terms of portfolio size. I'd like to curate that portfolio a little bit. As we all know, operators get paid as a percentage of revenue, right? So when occupancy goes up, our management fee goes up.
Yep.
And for us to be successful and sustainable, it's important, right, that our fee continues to grow as occupancy grows in communities. And we've got a lot of investments to make in some of our initiatives, right? Value-based care being right near the top of the list. So that's going to take resources and capital, right? And so we need to continue to scale, grow, curate our portfolio. And so to answer your question, 5 years from now, yeah, we're looking to be the go-to operator in the Southwest, for anybody who's looking for best-in-class operations.
And it sounds like you're doing a great job in a place that I know is super competitive. Greg, thank you very much for spending some time. We are about out of time. I hope all those of you who are watching, have a great rest of your Independence Day holiday weekend. Greg, hold on for just a second. And I wish you a great weekend.